How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. Today, we're going to take a close look at the face portrait for the 1987 Masters of the Universe movie, He-Man, from Mattel's Masterverse line. And I'd like to take a close look at it together today. I've brought out a bunch of other He-Man portraits. We have all the He-Men in the Masterverse line. We have their face portraits. And then I also have two of the He-Men released in the 4-pack on Mattel Creations. We're going to go ahead and swap every single head onto this He-Man body so you can go ahead and decide which is the one that you like the most. But also, I want to talk about, is it really one of the worst face portraits we've seen ever on a He-Man toy? So let's take a close look at that together today. First, let's start out by looking at this face portrait and talking about it just a little bit in detail. Right. Looking at this face portrait, it does not look like Dolph Lundgren. No question about it. I am in full agreement about that. I will say I am in full agreement also with the fact that the William Stout portrait from Super 7 Ultimates is the best and closest likeness of Dolph Lundgren that most people kind of say, hey, that's the one that is the best portrait of He-Man. And I'm in agreement with that until the modern era. I think is, and this is from the Origins line, this is the portrait that I think has surpassed that William Stout portrait in terms of being the closest to looking like Dolph Lundgren. So I'm just saying that, yes, this does not look like Dolph Lundgren. Absolutely does not. But we've really never gotten a face portrait that looks like Dolph Lundgren until William Stout and then this one. That's just my plea to that discussion, that great discussion going on in the comments, but also in social media. Objectively, about this face portrait, that is a chiseled face. That is not a bland or smoothed over face. Effort and work went into the really great detail and sculpting in that face. No, it does not look like Dolph Lundgren, but that is a really well sculpted face. The paint applications on that face, the eyes, the gaze, the eyebrows are masterfully done, right? He even has like a dark eyeliner. That's outstanding paint work. His lips are not absent of paint. They have a tan color paint, and it's extremely well done. There's also some shading on his face. So he has a very detailed, chiseled sculpt, very well-defined features, great paint applications, and shading on his face. No, he does not look like Dolph Lundgren. In terms of his hair, objectively, this is a great approximation of what Dolph's hair looked like in the movie. So, objectively, this face portrait has a lot of strengths, and its negative is that it does not look like Dolph Lundgren. I get it. We all get it, right? But today, what we're going to do is we're going to do a side-by-side close-up comparison of each of the He-Men so that you can get your eyes on it and come to your own ideas and trigger some more conversations. And then we're also going to swap all of the heads onto this body so just so we can see what they look like. All right, let's start out with the secondary portrait that comes with this He-Man in the box. And this one, as we can see, is going for an approximation of the vintage look. The hair on these two figures is identical. And we can see they went with kind of like an updated sculpt here that kind of approximates the vintage. If you got this He-Man and you're unhappy with this really well-designed and sculpted piece, you can swap out for this look. All right, so let's jump into our first He-Man in no particular order, just the way I kind of like put them all to the side there. Let's start out with Savage He-Man, a nice side-by-side there. This figure here, and I commented on it with some people in the comment section, it looks to me almost like the actor and former bodybuilder Joe Piscopo. And I'm going to drop some pictures into the video here during editing so you can kind of like you know, if you don't know who Joe Piscopo is, this is him. Let's look at a head swap here. I'm going to put this head on our He-Man. Quick head swap. And you know what? I think that looks tough. I like that look right there. Very dope. You know what? Putting his head over here, and maybe it's the shadows. You know who else this face kind of resembles a little bit to me? Tell me what you think. I'll put a picture during editing. He looks a little bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger's son, Joe Baena. Right? I don't know. Tell me what you think. You know, maybe this face is a tribute to Joe Piscopo and Joe Baena. Next He-Man. We'll look at the 40th anniversary He-Man. Beautiful next to each other. Let's do a head swap. You know what? I'm surprised. I like that look. It does not look like the traditional He-Man, right? It does not look like Dolph Lundgren, but it looks cool, in my opinion. And it's primarily because that's an extremely well done head portrait. It doesn't look like Dolph Lundgren, though. All right, I'm wearing it out. I'm sorry. But this one here right now, for that vintage look, with this ultimate kind of like ceremonial armor, if you will, I think this is rocking right here. Heck yeah. All right, next swap, we'll look at the Filmation Origins tribute figure from the 4-pack. And now let's swap the heads out. Over here, I like that look too. And I'm surprised by that also, because I thought, you know what? That really cartoony animation style isn't going to work with all of the really realistic looking sculpting all over the armor and the deep colors on the harness pieces. But you know what? I like it. I like it. I think I'm just a guy that likes He-Man. All right. Next swap. And now a side-by-side with the original release in the Revelations Masterverse line. And I like this He-Man from the initial photos. And when I got him in hand, I loved him even more. All right, let's swap. It could be that I'm just used to seeing this face now after hooking up all these figures. But I like that look too, right? It doesn't look like the vintage He-Man. It doesn't look like Dolph Lundgren. But it's a nice look, you know? Whether it's Joe Piscopo or Joe Baena or whoever. All right, next swap. Next up, the CGI cartoon He-Man. Not a He-Man that you hear a lot of hype about, but you know what? He's constructed just as well as the Masterverse or Origins figures, and he feels great in hand. And it is a new take on He-Man, and the fact that we're getting new takes on a 40-year-old IP, man, I mean, that's just beautiful stuff. So heck yeah. Nice side-by-side there. And not much ado, let's do a head swap. All right, side-by-side there. And that looks hilarious. And the funny thing is that as funny as that looks, right? This head is smaller than this one. And it didn't look as weird as that does. Maybe it's because of the hair falling over the ears on this side. Next swap. All right, Battle Armor He-Man in the house. This He-Man is rated by many as one of the best in the Masterverse line, and I'm not going to argue with that at all. Nice side-by-side there of the two. Let's do a head swap. King He-Man. That's the vibe that I get from this. He has a scar on the right side of his face. Yes, I know that in classics, King He-Man had the scar along the left side of his face. But you know what? The beard, the hairstyle, a scar on the face. I think that that's kind of like nudge, nudge, wink, 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 King He-Man. And over here, again, I just think that that's a well-done face portrait. And the proportions on it just really complement all the muscularity on the figure. Next swap, looking at New Adventures He-Man from the Mattel Creations 4-pack. This is a very unique face sculpt on this particular He-Man. So let's swap them and see how they look. There we go. And you know what? It looks okay. It's passable, I think, for me. This guy, look from the side there. All right, we're down to our last two swaps. And these are the two portraits that I think give us the closest likeness to Dolph Lundgren. Let's do that. New Eternia He-Man, a.k.a. Viking He-Man. And of all of the Masterverse figures, I think this one has features that are close to Dolph Lundgren's. Let's do a swap. And You be the judge. Wow, I'm digging this look. I am digging this Joe Baena, Joe Piscopo look over here for He-Man. And looking at this look here, I think the hair throws it off. It has more of that Prince Adam look to it. But the face itself is a closer approximation to Dolph Lundgren than is this one, for sure. This looks nothing like Dolph. This, to me, has a little bit of something of him there. Just a little bit. And this is the one in the line right now that I think is the second closest to looking like Dolph. And I'll bring in my final candidate. My vote for the portrait in the Masters of the Universe line that most closely resembles Dolph Lundgren is this one. Many have said it before me. Many have repeated it since, like I am now. And I think it still remains true. If you're going for that really close and accurate look of Dolph Lundgren, this is the portrait in the line right now. And if you have customizing skills, or if you know a customizer, swap out this hairpiece for this hairpiece, and you are closer to Dolph Lundgren's likeness than ever before in the MOTU line, in my opinion. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that bold claim by me just now. But I really dig that look. I get it. That's a cartoony yellow. And I think that that is a strong likeness. I think, you know, in terms of comparatively to the Joe Baena head portrait over here. Super dope. This was a lot of fun. And I hope that this gave everyone a chance in terms of creating a look with this particular body and all of the great things it has going on. The figure objectively is top tier in the Revelations Masterverse line. No question about it. And I would not pass up on this figure body. Masterverse is rocking. MOTU is rocking. I say it all the time because I'm inspired to say it all the time based on what I have in front of me. And as a kid that grew up with He-Man and I could hear the music in my head, it's like reliving all that excitement again, but appreciating the art and everything behind it in a very different way. So very cool. It was a lot of fun dialoguing and communicating with everybody in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know what you think about my thoughts on the portrait as itself, as a piece of sculpted work. You know, no, it's not Dolph Lundgren, but what do you think about the other things that I had to say? And heck yeah, thank you so much. It's always fun to take these times out and share the experience of collecting toys as an adult. Until next time,